When I was younger, I had a close friend who lived in an old house in our hometown. It was one of those places that always felt a little off. Dark wooden trim, stone basement walls, and an eerie silence that never seemed normal. I spent a lot of time there, but something about the house made my skin crawl. Back then, I couldn't put it into words, but I knew something wasn't right. 2 moments from my time in that house still haunt me to this day. The first was when I noticed the painting. It hung near the front door, an old and dusty thing I had passed dozens of times without giving it much thought. But that day I stopped and stared at it. It showed a boy sitting on a wooden rocking horse, his grin wide and his posture relaxed. One hand resting on the horse, the other raised near his head. I don't know what made me study it so closely, but the longer I looked, the more uneasy I felt. That's when I saw it. There was a bubble in the paint right over the boy's raised hand. But it wasn't just a random flaw. It was shaped like a knife. A perfect outline, as if someone had hidden it there on purpose. It didn't belong in the painting, but it was there, clear as day. I called my friend over, pointing it out. He glanced at it and shrugged. "Weird stuff happens here all the time," he said casually. "I'm used to it." His words made my stomach tighten. Used to it? I wanted to brush it off, tell myself it was just a coincidence, but something about that painting stayed with me. Later that day, my mom picked me up and I went home relieved to be out of that house. The next day I went back. Out of curiosity, I checked the painting again. The knife shape was gone. Not faded, not chipped away, just gone. Like it had never been there at all. And worse, the boy's grin had vanished too. His once lively expression had been replaced by something blank, lifeless, like an old photograph. A chill ran down my spine and I stepped away, trying to shake off the unease crawling up my neck. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. Then the painting disappeared. I don't mean someone moved it or took it down. 1 second it was there and the next the wall was empty. My heart stopped. I looked around expecting to see it leaning somewhere nearby, but it was just gone. And at that moment, a thought crept into my head, one that made my breath hitch. The boy in the painting had come to play. Years passed, and I stopped visiting that house as much. But one night, I found myself there again. I was babysitting for my friend's family, watching TV in the living room while the kid I was looking after dozed off beside me. Then I heard it. Bang, bang, bang. Doors upstairs slamming shut, one after another. I froze. The kid stirred beside me but didn't wake up. My heart pounded as I listened, waiting for another sound, another explanation. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe the windows were open, but the air was still. There was no wind, and the banging didn't stop. I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at me to get out of that house, but I couldn't leave the kid alone. So, despite every bone in my body telling me not to, I got up and went upstairs. Every door was wide open. I turned on the lights, checking each room, expecting to find someone there. But there was nothing. Just silence. Then I heard the growl. Downstairs near the front door, the family's dog stood frozen, ears perked, body tense. It wasn't barking. It was growling, low and deep, the kind of sound a dog makes when it's afraid, not angry. Its eyes were locked on something outside the door, A thick, suffocating pressure filled the air, pressing down on me like the house itself was holding its breath. I didn't want to look. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to stay put, to pretend I hadn't noticed, but I did. Through the window on the basement door, I saw a face, a boy's face staring straight up at me. But it wasn't like someone kneeling down, peering through the glass. It was like his head was rising from the ground, like his body was buried beneath the floor. And then, he smiled, a slow, unnatural grin, stretching too wide for his face. Then, he vanished, not ducking out of sight, not moving away, just gone. The dog barked suddenly, breaking the spell. I stumbled back, heart hammering in my chest. I grabbed the kid still half asleep and ran to the couch, curling up and waiting for morning. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink. I never went back to that house after that night. Years later, I heard my friend's family moved away. The house sat empty for a long time. No one wanted to live there. And then, one day, it was gone. Not sold, not torn down. Just gone, like it had never been there at all.